All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 3 in this first match of the day, second match of the day, pardon me. This will send somebody to the winners match versus Rain and somebody to the losers match versus Soulkey. Find out who it is after this game, but I'm Rifkin, casted today with Mal. I guess it is day at this point, even though it's still pitch black outside. But spotting in the bottom right corner of the map, it's going to be TCM's blue Zerg player, Soulkey.
Oh, no, I wasn't following. And then I collect position, playing as red Zerg. What is it? CM Stormsoul Revival.
What do you mean, who is it?
Oh my god, I forgot the team name for a second. I was like, what is it?
CM? Color Me Revival.
Color Me Revival. Color Me Red. Oh, look, it's perfect. CMR. Holy shit.
Alright, both players go for the hatchery first this game, so don't go into anything cheeky. That was, I gotta tell you, man, you told me about Soulkey Swarm Host, and I was like kind of stoked to see them, kind of worried at the same time, but I was really impressed with not the Swarm Hosts themselves, but his play stylings with them. Splitting his units up, and it sounds like such a simple thing, right? Like, oh, Terrors know how to split, is that impressive? Yes, it is, and same with Zerg players who know how to split their units accordingly. I really think...
His use of Swarm Host, the interpretation of it is a lot different than many of the others are, and he uses Swarm Host in all different matchups except Terran. Actually, mostly he doesn't really use Swarm Host in Terran.
Well, but I mean, the thing is, I think if he had those clumped up, if he was still retreating with one clump of Locust, one clump of Swarm Host, like those fungal growths would have shut that down so easily. But because Revival was forced to fight on 2 fronts across the map, that's where this really came up and fell apart. So as we go into game number 3, obviously that's going to be on Revival's mind a little bit, but I got to give big credit to this guy. Like, as much as it sucks that he kind of almost threw a 1 game, he's still playing this series out really well. And again, for me personally, I'm a big Revival fan. I love Revival ever since the days of the Zotac Cup, and he's just not really played that impressively of late. But this series, I'm actually rather pleased with.
Revival has never been on a slump or anything like that. It's just the illness.
The illness, as you will. Yeah.
The illness.
Well, the Mutalisks last game definitely got a little bit of an edge in. Catalina is a really good map for Mutalisks if done correctly, so we'll see if that goes for it. Although every time I come back on this map, casting Koreans, I always think back to Life. Life against literally every Zerg player in the big one would just go Nidoswarm, Roaches, Nidoswarm, Roaches, Nidoswarm, Roaches. It was really cool to see. Even Hyun got caught off by it at some point, I believe. So it was an interesting tactic, but no one else seems to ever use it. But my hopes are always high, my fingers are always crossed. 4 Lings are actually going to sneak by this. 2 Lings obviously struggles sometimes, but it looks like 2 Lings would have actually gotten into this base.
And this is good. Queens went out to block off the ramp. They unfortunately couldn't. Oh,
well, this is actually a pretty big reveal, though. Seeing Gasless for the opener. Other side of the map looks like Soulkey gets a little bit more aggressive, kills a drone, or tries to, or actually does.
The Revival. Revival kills the drone.
Yes, thank you. Kills one of Soulkey's
changed the color, yeah.
Soulkey
was red.
But the problem for Revival is, well, he did kill this. He actually didn't. Oh, I guess he did get to the minute. I didn't realize he did. Oh, with the Overlord, that's right. So he saw the gas come out early with that first Overlord, and the Lings just went to confirm what was coming up next. So he's got Spine Core come down. He's got a bit of a wall started up. The second he sees this many Lings, he should be able to gap this entirely.
Soulkey was. I think Soulkey's made a good choice to stop mining after 100 just to get the metabolic boosts. When he saw that Revival didn't have any gases.
Yeah.
I think it was the right call.
Still, those 3 Lings from earlier running around the main now with metabolic boosts, proven to be a bit of a pain. Well, we got this big offensive force on the outside. He's still got this really dangerous 3 set of Lings on the inside. And had there been a Baneling nest, like there's not, but had there been a Baneling nest, this could have been game ending for Revival to lose like a mineral line to 3 Baneling hits or something, right? Oh, could have been so scary.
Revival SimCity though has been absolutely on the dot, unlike the series that we saw earlier in this Group C. Hero and
that was a bit awkward to say the least. But yeah, you're right. Like last game as well, when he was being beaten back within his own natural, continually placed down when he needed to. Yeah. But the layer's going to be finishing up here for Revival in a second. Of course, Soulkey got a pretty good scout on that. For the Gasless opener, he knows exactly what was in store. He knows Revival was going to go Roaches. And I really like that he did not continue to invest in Lings after that first count. Like, he went back to joining pretty quickly. He takes his 3rd base much faster, because this is the advantage you have of playing with gas. You've got sort of map control, so to speak. But given enough time...
That's the advantage of having metabolic boost. Even if your Lings don't do as much damage, seeing, as a Zerg player, seeing some like unconfirmed number of Lings just running around with that wings on their back, it makes you be
paranoid.
Yeah, and that alone does good enough job, because as soon as you reveal it, like, the Zerg player with metabolic boost can just SD all the way and out macro the opponent.
Also clarify, because I do know we have some more casual viewers in the audience. SD is what you do: select larvae, and then D is for drone. So, since James keeps saying that.
Yeah.
Although, dude, I'm not gonna lie. When I feel like sitting there shouting SD, I get like really BM in my mind. I'm like, suck dick, I hate you so much. SD. I don't know. Maybe I need some therapy, guys.
Horstick.mp.
I wish more people saw that movie. I would love to make that reference more often. You're like the first person I've met in a long time that I could actually make that joke with. Miss March, whatever, such a good movie.
Go find Miss March and watch it.
Well, it's not just this Miss March. I love the whitest kids you know. Like, this is one of my favorite comedy groups. But, okay, so he's going to lose a Spine Caller. That was a little bit awkward. I really don't know what I was doing out there in the first place. But here comes the push of Roaches. And this is what happens when you play Gasless. You give up a lot of this early game control, the gas, the metabolic boost, etc. Your third base always comes down later. But you've got a lot more Roaches a lot sooner. And we see Soulkey kind of struggling. He's on 17 Roaches against what is soon to be 27. He can maybe take an initial fight. And we'll see if Defender's advantage is enough to carry through. But without Queens and Transfuses, it's going to be very difficult. In fact, he does bring the Queens with their Transfuses to the front lines immediately.
Roach versus Roach is an interesting game, because even the pro players don't know why they win a Roach versus Roach fight when they win it, or they don't know why they lost. You look at the Roach count, it's sometimes the player that loses has higher Roach count, but luck of the draw, their Roaches just shoot better than the others.
Well, it is a little bit luck of the draw. That's the whole point of Concaves. You spread out your damage a little bit more. Roaches have notorious overkill. Like, we just saw 5 Roaches kill a Roach with 1 health on it. Like, it's such a wasted amount of damage, and the more you spread out, the better that gets. And it looks like Soulkey is going to beat this back. He's still got less Roaches, but Revival's Roaches are only flooding across the map. They're not already here.
Even though professional players have over like 300 and sometimes 500 APM, the spike in the middle of the engagement or anything like that, but there's just no way in hell you can calculate exactly how much damage Roach will do and try to salvage as much overkills as possible. It's just not humanly possible.
No, certainly not.
I mean, hell, even insane computer AI can't even do it.
What you need is Archon mode, James. Archon mode for the ultimate Roach micro. Gosu. We had a lot of Lings left over for Soulkey. I thought he was going to use these for Banelings maybe, but still just having that cannon fodder on the front lines, it still takes advantage of that overkill. 4 Roaches waste shots on Zerglings. It's a lot less damage going into your opponent's Roaches. But Defender's advantage is a very big deal, and while the Roach count is somewhat similar and the upgrades are very the same, the fact that Soulkey is going to try and take a fight on Revival's half of the map won't really work out for him. I do want to stress, though, we're at this point in the game where this has started to even out. Gasless builds are always a little bit behind when it comes to the thirds, but they're both on even worker count. They're both on third bases. I mean, the Roach count's going to look very similar. We're going to have that kind of weirder Roach game. I guess the questions at this point, I'd love to hear your thoughts, is, do we see the divergence from Soulkey to go for Swarm Host again, or will he just go Hydralisks, Infestors, the regular deal?
Say if this was, the map was, say, I don't know, Overgrowth, then the Hydralisk tech would be the better choice over anything else once you stabilize with Roach versus Roach. But Catalina has so many pathing potentials that Swarm Host would be a bad call. Once you spawn your Locust, but you get caught off guard, and you miss your opponent's unit movement, then you're pretty much screwed. If, say, Soulkey was in the advantageous position and has put Revival in a containment, then I'd say Swarm Host would be a good call.
Yeah. Because
with a containment, you know exactly where your opponent can move out to. But in this situation, I don't think that's likely.
No, but what I am liking, though, out of Soulkey is we're going to see that Baneling nest. This is really a punch you in the face and keep pushing forward through that hole type. The damage from Banelings, not bonus versus Roaches, of course. But we see so many times, if you got 20 Banelings, they're going to annihilate half the Roaches, or take them low enough that your own Roaches will finish them off very quickly. We do see Revival going for Tunneling Claws and Burrow. Well, not Burrow yet. That's a very quick upgrade. It'll come later. But those sort of sneak attack tactics, segment 4 Roaches to the main, sneak a couple to the natural, stuff like this. That's not really going to come into effect if he's too busy fighting this 200 maxed out Roach army with 18 Banelings to go with it. Baneling's speed's going to be a little bit late to the party, but still, all they have to do is get a couple of connects. I think it's 3 Roaches to be cost effective.
The fact that Soulkey's making Baneling list is a tell that he wants to go and end this game.
Yes, it's very much an all-in move because it doesn't provide a lot of momentum.
Well, it's not necessarily an all-in move, but that's the aggressor's move. Whereas you don't want to be building Banelings as a defender.
I was kind of expecting him to oversupply, where you start doing the build cancel like 18 spore crawlers, and then you spend all that money, all that gas on the extra Banelings. So you've got that big supply count, 150 army value instead of 134. But yeah, he's just thinking of Banelings.
It's a lot easier to just sacrifice Banelings and instantly build Roaches out of those the emptied out supply from the Baneling.
This is not going so hot here for Soulkey. He doesn't get a lot of good connects on those first Banelings, but he will catch some of the Roaches awkwardly trying to retreat.
Good splits, but that was what I was talking about Catalina with so many pathing potentials. That a lot of Roaches, if they just went down and turned around, they would have been okay, but instead they came back.
But even just retreating like this, he's taking a lot of free hits. The Banelings now get speed a little bit too late to the party, but Defender's advantage is going to be big. 26 Roaches coming out to replace this. I mean, Soulkey's got a Roach lead right now, but it's temporary. That's what the Banelings have bought him. The momentum is just not here from that attack, and he's picking up a couple Roaches here and there. He's going to be pushed back entirely. Both players on 2-1. He can't really snipe Revival's 4th. Actually, he might be able to snipe off the 4th. It'll cost him some Roaches, but yeah, he'll pick off the 4th and retreat off of this. Revival, in the meantime, actually position some Roaches to catch this sort of run by, so deflects this quite nicely. And looks like Revival, he can heal up the Roaches that were burrowed, damaged with that burrow. Actually, the burrow comes so late, didn't realize he didn't start this yet. So can't really take advantage of these tunneling claws at all.
Ugh. That really sucks. And Soulkey immediately, I don't know how he knows, but he's researching his own burrow now too.
I think that's just the path of the game. Like, if you don't go Hydras, it's the only real direction you can take the Roaches, right? Either way, Revival's actually going for his own Baneling speed behind this. He's going to be looking to do the same move Soulkey just pulled off against him, but Soulkey is just taking a great defensive engagement. Revival has got a lot of Roaches still standing. He actually pulls back with these. It's a pretty smart choice, rather than risking losing them all.
In terms of economy-wise, though, I think it's still pretty evened out. Soulkey doesn't have his 4th. Revival lost his 4th, but that was about it. It's not like he lost a lot of drones or anything like that. The worker count's exactly the same. The army count's the same too. Now we see Soulkey making some spore callers and stuff, and doing that. What do you call that? What do you call it?
I call it oversupplying. I don't know if there's a proper because what you do.
We'll settle with oversupplying.
Yeah, you build cancel a lot of these so you can get over the supply cap. That's my logic for it. So that's why we have 209 supply, 211 supply. You make that into Zerglings, you turn those into Banelings, and the idea is you just got such a big force. But I almost fear, because there's almost no micro when it comes to Banelings at this point, you're just kind of moving them into the Roaches, hoping for the best. We might end up seeing like 2 Banelings take out 28 of your opponents. It's very, very dangerous when it's Baneling versus Baneling with Roach versus Roach behind it. If you don't control this for even a second, you could lose all of your Banelings for what is almost nothing. But Revival's Banelings are not here on the front lines, and this is a problem. They're just rolling in now. Banelings are Banelings trading out as predicted here through the middle. So those kind of get equalized. And we look at the worker count now. We're starting at the worker count. The Roach count. Revival is down in Roach supply, but his own Banelings are going to start coming in and start hoping
There's
to
still more
trade this out.
Now
I don't
the
know.
Banelings are connecting and doing a lot of damages.
But Defender's advantage. I think Defender's advantage might be able to do this. So 25 Roaches on the way. Revival is trading this out pretty evenly, and if that's the case, his reinforcements should be able to swamp and overwhelm Soulkey.
One thing I don't like about Revival's choice is that when he first lost his 4th on that location, it would have been better if he had just expanded the other way around, the clockwise,
northwise,
to the 12 o'clock position, because I think he lost a lot of units trying to defend this 4th. Whereas if it was on the northern side, Soulkey would have been forced to take bad engagement because there's an auto concave set up by the train, and Soulkey would have had to run into it. Versus where the hatchery ended up working against Revival, sort of like a force field, a massive $300 force field.
Well. Looking to put some pressure into this space yet again. Revival's pre-split, and I mean, these guys have spent so much money at this point. There's not a whole lot of a bank left for Revival. Soulkey, actually, impressively, despite not having that fourth for so long, is the one that's got reinforcement potential. Revival's down in Roaches. I don't think he can actually take this fight too comfortably. And while this goes on, Soulkey actually segments some Roaches off to go counterattack and pick up a couple of drones over here to the north. Pretty smart move out of him. But if this trades out evenly, Revival he's not able to remake his Roaches as fast.
But one thing you have to take into consideration is the Revival's Roaches are well upgraded. One armor doesn't make a difference, but having two armor does make a difference in a fight. So if Revival wants to attack, he should oversupply now and just go for the kill now, perhaps, just because his fourth hasn't been mining for a good chunk of time. And here comes engagement.
Yeah, and he catches Soulkey in the middle of build canceling a lot of Spore Caller. So while this is going on, he doesn't accidentally forget to cancel them, but he does get a lot of extra supply out for this. So he's not supply capped. This doesn't take him over the supply cap, but he already had reinforcements on the way as a consequence. So they were already building. This Roach line is getting pretty ridiculously thin on both sides, but I think with the Queens and the just few extra Roaches, Soulkey's going to barely win this out. He'll send Revival packing once again.
It really comes down to how many more Roaches Revival can plenish.
Revival's pretty much spent at this point. And what's weird to consider is he's had an upgrade lead for every one of these engagements. He's had 2-2 over his opponent's 2-1. Soulkey's only just now finishing up 2-1. Revival does decide to burrow his Roaches to heal them. I like that choice a lot, especially with how down to the wire it is for him. But I don't think he realizes just how big of a bank Soulkey has. Soulkey can just kind of aim over into this trade really poorly, and he still wins this game, I think, because of that bank more than anything else.
As we can see Revival's army count just dropping like mad. And there are no queens to throw down Woody.
Transfuses. It was like a queen, but yeah, it's a little bit too late at this point. I think Revival, now realizing it's going to be the case, he's going to have to fall to fight against Soxry, another CVZ. But congratulations to Soulkey, as he'll quote-unquote win a chance to fight against Rain. But no, seriously, congratulations to